careful. What do you say? What do you do? It'll pass. But there is something that we should be attached to, but that is being in transcendence. That's a different thing. When you're in transcendence, the storms and the sunshine are still going on there, but you're not identifying with them. And if you want to be in transcendence all the time, guess what part of the process you got to go through? How do you get to Nishta? What do you got to go through? Anartha Nivritti. There you go. If you don't like Anista Sadhana Bhakti, and Anista Sadhana Bhakti is not a nice place to be. It really is not a nice place to be. Bhagavatam says 2 people are happy. Who are the 2 people that are happy? The fools and the crazy fools and the transcendentalists, and everyone in between is suffering. So generally, what do people do to relieve their suffering? They drink, like here these demigods. They drink, they smoke. Nowadays people have a lot of not only chemical intoxication, but electrical intoxication. Right? They're constantly watching movies. I mean, these people, they can't even wait in an airport without having some movie there. They can't have an hour without something to distract them. So we come to Krishna consciousness and we get rid of all that. We say, okay, I'm not going to have anything that distracts me from the fact that I'm suffering. I'm going to have it right here. So if you're not yet transcendental, if you're no longer a fool, you're not intoxicated, and you're not transcendental, life's tough. It's really tough, not a good place to stay. You want to get through Anista Sadhana Bhakti as quickly as possible and come to the platform of Nista. That means you've got to go through an Artha Nivritti. Prabhupada says going through an Artha Nivritti is a hard struggle with determination. And it's our fault that we're where we are. It's not Krishna's fault. If you've committed a crime, you have to go through rehabilitation, and it hurts. If you become an alcoholic or a heroin addict, you have to go through a treatment program, and at the beginning it hurts. You know, if you take thorns and stick them in your body, somebody taking out the thorns is going to hurt. You got to be willing to go through that. Dismantling the false ego at first is going to hurt because we're attached to it. So if you want to always be steady in Krishna consciousness, if we want those moments of ecstasy and those moments of brilliance and those moments of truth to become constant, then we've got to be willing to go through the treatment. And the treatment is not just the externals of putting your body in the temple room for Mangalarti and moving your fingers over the beads while your lips move. It's not, as Burjampu writes in his Japa book, it's not a series of activities. It's being willing to face the truth about me. So that's the cure. But as far as the modes, they're going to go up and down. That's not going to stop. No matter how Krishna conscious you are, the modes are going to go up and down. It's just you're no longer going to identify with them. It's like, okay, for some of us, but for most of us, the stock market's been going up and down. Does it matter to you? Do you care? Anybody here heavily invested in the stock market? If you're not invested in the stock market, why would you care? Does it matter? It's a minor disturbance. Isn't it? Doesn't matter. Other people are jumping out of windows, and for us it's a minor disturbance. Is that right? Yes.
How did you know I was going to ask the question?
Because I saw your hand raised before.
In the instructions of Vishwadev to Yudhishthira, Yudhishthira asked, what is the position of a person who's being constantly harassed by someone unnecessarily? And what should one do? What's one's position? So he replied, Vishwadev replied that the person who is being harassed, if he does not react, he will receive all the good qualities of the person who's chastising him. And the person who's chastising will receive all the bad qualities that you have who are being chastised. because it gives us an impetus to to make spiritual advancements, even though there may be, one may think there's no cause for requiring advancement in that particular position.
Thank you. He said that when Maharaj Yudhisthira asked Bhishmadev, what should you do if someone's harassing you? And Bhishmadev replied, if you don't respond, I assume respond negatively, then you get all the good qualities of the person who's chastising you, and the person who's chastising gets all the bad qualities of the person that they're chastising. And knowing this can give us an impetus to behave properly, even when we don't see any purpose in what's happening. I would also say that, do be practical. If somebody is treating you cruelly and you have the ability to get out of the circumstances, you can get out of the circumstances. You don't have to stand there and let somebody beat you.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that too.
Yeah.
If there was no way out.
If there's no way out. I mean, like Prahlad Maharaj, I've given this example many times. Where was he going to go? His father ran the whole universe. Where do you go? If your father's the chief of police, you can't go to the police and complain. You're stuck. Or Haridas Thakur, he's being beaten by the government. You can't complain to the government when it's the government who's beating you. You're stuck. It's interesting that Maharaj Ambarish didn't retaliate against Durvasa, because he was the king. I mean, he could have retaliated. And I'm sure that Maharaj Ambarish, if he were attacked like that on the battlefield by another Kshatriya, would have fought that. But he was being attacked by a Brahmana, who was his guest, and who felt that he had offended him. So he had the mood as the king, as a Kshatriya, I'm not supposed to retaliate against a Brahmana, who's my guest. So not against a guest and not against a Brahmana. So he just stood there. He just stood there with his hands folded when Durvasa created this demon to attack him. But Narada hung around to hear Daksha's insults. And it said that he did that because he thought, well, let him just express his anger, and after he expresses his anger, he'll calm down, and then I'll be able to preach to him, which didn't happen. But that was Prabhupada explains how he was calculating. He thought, let him just get it out of his system. It's not that we're required to hang around and let people disrespect us and mistreat us. It's not. It's not that we need to do that. But there may be circumstances where it's unavoidable. I mean, sometimes it's unavoidable. And then what do you do? Hare Krishna Rakhe Rakhe Krishna Marike. Ultimately, Krishna is doing this. He has some lesson from me. There's something he wants me to know. Instead of just thinking, this demon, this terrible person, let me attack them, let me discredit them, let me write something nasty about them on the internet or whatever. Let me hate them. And what lesson does Krishna want me to learn? Anybody else? Yes.
First, you mentioned, she's saying that you shouldn't be attached to being in illumination, not illumination. So therefore, this verse is a recommendation for the sadhaka who is not yet understood.
It's Krishna giving the symptom of somebody who's above the modes of material nature. That's the symptom. So if we are attached to illumination and we hate delusion, we can understand that I'm not above the modes of material nature. In other words, if that's our feeling, we should not think, oh, that means that I'm a very great devotee. No, it's a symptom of being attached to the modes of nature.